I was talking with my friend Janae yesterday, and she asked me kind of like how to explain what I do. And I said, well, I just make heavy things light. And she kind of laughed. And I thought about my pops with this, because my pops growing up, he always wanted to make everything as simple as possible. He would always talk about that people would make things complicated because they wanted to seem important. But if you kept things simple, then you would direct their eyes to the Lord as opposed to on you. And it would make things so much easier. And I think about my pops and what he would say. He would say to me all the time, boy, it ain't that complicated. And he would definitively say that over and over again. He would say, just build the people, allow the people to build the business. And then he would say to me that to build people, you just got to be the dumbest person in the room, because that will draw out the best and the worst in somebody. And when you understand where somebody's at, then you can deliver to them, you can build them up. And when you build them up, they have the tendency to build the business. See, he was one that he was always wanting to take the super heavy or he was wanting to take the super heavy and make it light. He was wanting to take the super complicated and make it simple. He was wanting to take the super complex and just make it digestible. And after a lifetime of spending with him, well, a half a lifetime, I realized that where he was drawing from allowed him to not carry the things that he wasn't designed to carry. Anytime that I would get stressed, anytime that there would be, weight on my shoulders, and I would call him and I felt like I was carrying the world, my pops would always say, that's not what you're designed for. What you're designed for is light. And you have a partner that will carry the rest. And when we focus on him and we ask him every single day, it's incredible how light we can walk. And in Proverbs 28 today, it shows us how we can make heavy things light by our dependence every day, by daily bread on him. So on this Friday, where everything should be light and you should laugh today, you should get excited, you should celebrate. I'm excited to dive into Proverbs 28, where it makes the heavy light. Let's get this party started.
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I climb. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never know, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
How do you eat an elephant? This is what my pops would say all the time. How do you eat an elephant? And every one of my friends would look at him strange, and I knew what was coming. Every single time he would ask this question, which was every single time one of my friends would come over, I already knew the answer because he had said it 1,000 times, just like those sayings that you hear from your dad or from your mom that you just kind of tune out. And he would get in somebody's face, how many bites does it take to eat an elephant? Or how do you eat an elephant? And the kid would just like, I don't know. And you say, you eat an elephant the same way that you eat a chicken, one bite at a time. And then he would just walk off like he had just dropped, the greatest amount of wisdom. And my friends would just look confused. They would just look confused, like, why is your dad saying these things to me? I have no idea. There's no context to it. But he would just drop these gems that later on we could see that, wow, okay, while I'm building a business or I'm developing a relationship, I'm working on my marriage, I'm working with my kids, that it's just the little small steps, the little tiny things. You take this huge project, you break it down into little tiny pieces, it can become digestible. So how do we eat an elephant, the huge thing in the room? Just the same way that we eat a chicken, one bite at a time. And I never realized until I got into business and I opened my first one and I looked at it and I was like, wow, building a business or opening a business or even doing business is nothing more than a series of small tasks done in a timely manner. Now that was simplifying things and making the heavy light. And when we could laugh about stuff, this was a thing with my friends that growing up was so great. There was a scene on The Simpsons, and maybe I could actually put a link to it in the bio. And that link is a scene where a lady says to her man, like, admit it, you've got a problem. And he said, I'll admit this. You better shut your big yap. And me and my friend just died laughing. And this was the first season of The Simpsons, which I think I was in 7th grade. And today, seriously, I watched it last night while I was supposed to be in a serious, band concert with my son. He wasn't playing, so I wasn't paying as much attention. But I'm just laughing to myself. I mean, that many years later, I was in 7th grade, so I was 12 years old. And so 38 years later, I'm still dying laughing at this joke. And what God was showing me last night is, like, make the heavy light. Like, it doesn't have to be heavy. When we talk about wisdom, we talk about a relationship with God, we talk about, doing the right thing. It's not heavy. It's light. Keep it light, laugh about it, have a great time. And when you have that great time, what'll happen is it frees everyone else up around you. There's times where I get in trouble because, I go through on an Inchstones like this, and we're going through Proverbs 28, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. And I'll say something, and someone will be like, yes, exactly. I'm rolling with that. And then I'm going to show everybody. And then they tell somebody, but they don't tell them in a light way. They tell them in a iron fist. And everyone's like, why are you tripping? Like, that's how my friends were with my dad. Why are you tripping on an elephant, man? Like, we have no idea what you're talking about. We're in 6th grade. There's no elephants in our neighborhood. We're not going to eat them. They probably wouldn't taste good anyway. So even if I ate them one bite at a time. But what my mom brought in, where my pops would bring that, my mom would bring the laughter, the joy, and say, just kind of keep it light. And I was very, very, I've been very, very, fortunate because I have people around me that, honestly, like my brother, breaks things down to the lowest common denominator. Like, he keeps things as simple as possible. It's like the guy who goes to the doctor and has he says, doctor, my arm hurts when I do this. And the doctor says, stop doing that. That's how my brother is. That's how my wife is. That's how my buddy Will is. And I remember, last night I sent them a text, Will and Dave, my 2 best friends in the world. And I sent him a text and I said, you guys have to admit, the Tennessee Titans were the greatest team in the NFL last year. And that just further drives home the proverb that the best team doesn't always win. And then I put styles make fights. And I just left it there because one's a Chiefs fan, one's an Eagles fan, and they were both in the Super Bowl. And it was funny because there was just a delay in the response. And then my buddy Will just was like, wow. That's all he put, just wow. And I want to make things as light as possible, and we want to joke. We want to have a good time. Obviously, we know when to be serious, but I tell you today, like, what God wants us to do today is literally let him carry the heavy and walk in the light. Like, walk light today and have a good time. Don't take it so serious. God does. God could take it serious, but we work with a partner too, that when we partner up with him, he'll take on the weight of it, and he does the heavy lifting. And he wants us to be joyous. He wants us to have a smile on our face. He wants us to laugh through things and lighten things up and lighten the mood. And so Proverbs 28, it shows us how to make the heavy things light. In verse 1 and 17, doing right brings boldness. And as I read through Proverbs 28 today, and I suggest that you do this, is read through it and see how simple it is. He'll compare the silliness, like doing silly things, which is just the absence of wisdom, and the wisdom is the right use of knowledge, and it comes from the fear of God, which is the respect of God. So if you just take out God, that's just silliness, right? If you take out God because you won't get wisdom, that's just silliness. And it shows you what will happen when you're silly and what will happen when you're wise. And it's that simple. It's not heavy. It's just light. Like, hey, this will happen when you do the right thing. This will happen when you don't. Bang, bang, biggity, bang, right? And so in verse 1 and 17, doing right brings boldness. You will be bold truly, not false bravado, but you will truly be bold when you just do the right thing. And how do we know what to do, the right thing? Just by having a conversation with God. And I tell you, he has a great sense of humor. I promise you, he does. In verse 2 and 18, clear vision is worth its weight in gold. Clear vision has to do with discernment, and discernment is a muscle. That discernment comes from discretion. When you start to have discretion, right, which comes from insight, which comes from understanding, which comes from knowledge, and which comes from wisdom, and that all comes from the fear of God. But when we start to discern, we can see things from a mile away, and that clear vision is worth its weight in gold. In verse 3, 15, 16, 22, 23, and 27, which means it's pretty important, being good to people always works out. Doesn't work out on your time, doesn't work out the way that you think it should, but be good to people. Be great to people all the time. No matter who they are, no matter how they wronged you, whatever it is, be good to people. Word of mouth will travel, and it's not about manipulating, whether it be in business, manipulating numbers. So, you have all this traffic. It's better to focus in on the person that's right in front of you and do the greatest for them, and then let them go out and preach the gospel of your good name. In verse 4, 7, 9, 10, 13, and 26, here comes another bomb, is seek, listen, and apply wisdom. This will make you walk light. Seek, listen, and apply wisdom. So if we seek it, whatever we seek, we'll find. But then we have to listen to it, and then we have to apply it. And when that happens, you'll walk light. Today, I want you to walk light. It is Friday. Have a good time. Laugh at the things that were so challenging for you. Honestly, like I had some, I talked about it before where I got, pulled over after a break-in. Got broken into in our business years ago in Vegas. I get broken into at like 2 a.m. I go there, I get everything taken care of. At 4 a.m, I'm driving back. I get a ticket, and when I get the ticket, I'm really angry with the cop, and I'm angry with God, and I'm yelling at him. And he just said to me, he said, the only reason why you had the opportunity to be able to get robbed is because I had blessed you with a business. I can fix that if you would like me to. And I was like, no, I'm good. And I just put a smile on my face and drove back home. And thank you so much for that ticket. Thank you so much for the fact that I have a car to be able to get a ticket in. Thank you so much for a business for me to be able to get broken into, that I could drive my car that I own all the way there to then drive back and get a ticket on the way back to the house that I own that you blessed me with. Bang, bang, biggity, bang. Like, seriously, make it as light as possible today, because there are so many blessings in your life, and that we can focus on them. In verse 5, 14, and then 19. So in 19, it talks about work in your land, like work in your land. Working your land means that we don't chase crazy fantasies, shiny things, anything like that. Like, work your land wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, in your relationship, in your friendships, in your business. Just work your land. And guess what will happen? That land will become more valuable. It'll become more fertile. There'll be so many blessings that come out of it, but don't try and work somebody else's land. And so in verse 5, 14, and 19, it becomes simple when you seek God. All things become simple. The heavy becomes light when we seek God. Like, try it. And I get into this challenge at times, and I don't know if you guys do it, but it's the coulda, shoulda, woulda. And my pops told me, you eliminate 3 words from your vocabulary, then your life you'll walk light. You'll walk free, son. He said, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Oh, I could have done that. I would have done that. I should have done that. Take them out, because you did what you did, because that's what was needed to happen at that particular time. And God is big enough to have you in a different place. So keep it light. Walk light. That's what he wants us to do. And when we walk light, we inspire others. We lift others up. And when you lift others up and you build people, like my pop said earlier, when you build people, the people build the business. I noticed this with my son in flag football last week. They played a game, and my son was heavy. It was like he was tight. But when they play light, they play free, they play fun, they have a good time. Doesn't mean we don't have discipline and structure and things like that, but honestly, like, walk light. It's not life and death, I could promise you. I just talked with my friend Scott yesterday, and what he's going through with his wife right now. And even in the midst of, challenges with his wife and his wife's health and all those things, he was speaking life to me, saying that he doesn't understand it, but he knows that God has a plan. And he was lifting me up because he was walking light. The heavier we walk, the more weight we put on other people that is around us. And as we finish up in verse 6, 8, 11, 12, 20, 21, 24, 25, and 28, doing right has a higher payoff. Always. Always. May not be when you want it to, but it'll always pay off in a better way. So do right. How do we know what is right? Just stay in communication with God. Have a conversation with him. My pops used to say, like, rap with him. Just rap with him. Just talk. Talk today. But talk, ask questions, and then sit and listen. And he will make the heavy light. And when you make the heavy light, you start walking different. You start walking free. You start having ideas. You start getting excited about things. I got some exciting things. I tried something yesterday with the Vibe experience. I put a picture of my daughter and her boyfriend. She doesn't even know this, but I put a picture of them up and I said, McKenna and her boyfriend Parker, would love for you guys to come to the Vibe experience. And, then I put afterwards, she doesn't even know I put this picture up there, but I'm sure that she would support her dad. Like, have fun with this. Stay light. Don't be so serious about stuff. Honestly, like, people don't need serious. They need to lighten up and laugh about it and have a good time. That creates so much innovation. See, my pops wanted to cut away the fat and get down to brass tacks. That's what he would say. That's like some dad stuff that you could say, like, cut away the fat, son. Like, I need to get down to the brass tacks. But he just desired the efficient, the simple, and the surefire way to do that is simply to seek God in these things. Right? So my pops, he wanted the efficient, he wanted the simple, and honestly, the surefire way to do all of that is just to seek God's direction in everything that we do. Because he makes the heavy light. So today, if you're carrying the world, realize that if you're feeling stress in your life right now, you're feeling that part, most of the time stress comes from carrying things that you ain't designed to carry, and you're designed to carry just his will, and what his will is light. He already talks about this. So I would invite you to read through Proverbs 28 today. Read it on your own and read it from a scope of trying to make the heavy light. What is the things that you're making heavy? What are the things that are so complicated that you're trying to complicate them more as opposed to just simplifying them and giving them up right now? So hopefully you have a phenomenal day. I get to take my daughter to school. Woohoo. I'm so excited about that. She's allowing me to drive, even though she has a driver's license. But I did find out that it wasn't some complicated, like, oh, wow, she loves her dad. It's just that her gas tank is empty. That's the reason why she wants me to drive her to school. So, but I'll take it all day long. Proverbs 28, it's another episode of Inchstones. Check out the Vibe Experience, April 12th. And the book is coming, The Vibe Within, which would be great. And check out our Substack. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and so.
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I climb. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk